What if I told you they never had to break your body to control you? They just needed to touch your ego. They didn't shatter your mind. They reprogrammed your pride. One compliment at the wrong time, one silent look of shame, one reward for being obedient. And piece by piece, you became your own captor. They didn't break you. They used you. You were never broken, not the way you think. They didn't chain you. They didn't strike you. They praised you. They stroked your ego, gave you just enough attention to keep you addicted to their approval. You're so smart, you're special, you're not like the others. And that was the moment they installed the control. Your ego became your leash. You obey to keep feeling worthy. You silence yourself to protect your image. You perform so no one sees you fall. They didn't shatter you. They rewrote your pride. These are the 15 ego triggers they've used for centuries to dominate, manipulate, and erase identity from the inside out. Trigger number 1, the compliment trap. Not every compliment is kindness. Some are carefully placed traps. When someone tells you, "You're the smartest in the room," "You're the only one I can count on," your ego inflates. You crave more. And to keep the praise, you comply. This is positive reinforcement manipulation, a tactic used by narcissists, corporations, even cults. They praise you, not because you're special, but because praise makes you predictable. And once predictable, you're programmable. Trigger number 2, silent rejection. Not every punishment is loud. Sometimes it's a glance, an ignored message, a cold pause after you speak. This is emotional withdrawal conditioning, where your ego is starved into submission. When they stop clapping, you stop acting. And when silence becomes pain, they control when it ends. You'll change your behavior, beg for attention, compromise your values, just to hear applause again. Trigger number 3, the savior illusion. The satisfying trigger, "Without me, you'd fall apart. I made you who you are." Will narrations makes up Ron. When someone convinces you that they built your worth, you will never leave them, because walking away means losing everything you think you are. This is called self-displacement suggestion, where you outsource your identity to someone else. Your confidence becomes borrowed, your ego leased, and the moment they pull away, you collapse. This tactic is used in toxic relationships, high-control religions, and even workplace loyalty systems. They don't want you strong. They want you grateful. Grateful to them for the ego they fed you, that they now use against you. Trigger number 4, the narcissist mirror. They reflect you. Smile when you smile. Laugh when you laugh. You start to feel connected, understood. But you don't realize they've shown you nothing of themselves. This is the narcissist mirror, a manipulation where your own personality is used against you. They study your weaknesses, they reflect your desires, so that when they twist the mirror, you shatter. It's not love, it's ego camouflage. You fell in love with yourself, and they stayed hidden. Trigger number 5, the obedient identity. Soft background, marching footsteps, mechanical clock. You're such a good student. You're so well-behaved. You always do the right thing. These sound innocent, but they install a script, a role you're expected to play. This is behavioral identity conditioning. Your ego becomes tied to compliance. So when you want to rebel, you feel guilt. Not because you're wrong, but because your identity won't let you change. You're the good one, and so you obey, even when it destroys you. Trigger number 6, the scarcity praise. Glitchy ambient sound, distant clapping loop. You crave recognition, not because you're weak, but because they taught you. Approval is rare. They drip-feed praise, withhold affection, reward you only when you behave exactly how they want. This is intermittent validation control, a psychological trap based on addiction cycles. just like gambling, just like slot machines. You keep showing up for another hit of worth, even when it costs you everything else.
Trigger number 7.
The mask reward cycle. Whispers layered with faint applause, soft ticking. When you wear the mask they like, you're loved, respected, promoted. But when you take it off, they vanish. This is the reward cycle of perfectionism, where your ego gets hooked on external validation for being someone you're not. You smile when you're dying inside. You perform strength when you're breaking, because that's the only version they approve. And your true self? Left, behind the mask.
Trigger number 8, the comparison injection.
Echoed whispers. Look at them, better than you. You weren't always insecure. Someone made sure you started looking sideways at her success, his confidence, their beauty. This is ego fragmentation by comparison. They inject subtle comparisons into your perception until you question your value. And once you start chasing others, you stop being yourself. Why can't you be more like him? She's doing better at your age. These are not harmless comments. They're poison, measured doses, until your identity dissolves in the reflection of someone else.
Trigger number 8, the comparison injection.
Echoed whispers. Look at them, better than you. You weren't always insecure. Someone made sure you started looking sideways at her success, his confidence, their beauty. This is ego fragmentation by comparison. They inject subtle comparisons into your perception until you question your value. And once you start chasing others, you stop being yourself. Why can't you be more like him? She's doing better at your age. These are not harmless comments. They're poison, measured doses, until your identity dissolves in the reflection of someone else.
Trigger number 9.
Manufactured humility. Soft whisper, church bells and distance. Don't think too highly of yourself. Be humble. Ego is the enemy. But what if that message was another trick? This is humility indoctrination, the illusion that shrinking yourself makes you righteous, so you don't shine, you don't lead, you don't rebel, because your ego is shackled by shame. They tell you confidence is arrogance. Stay small, stay quiet. But who really benefits from your silence?
Trigger number 10, the wounded pride loop.
Exclamation prayer, Mufilunk. When someone shatters your ego, it doesn't disappear. It mutates, becomes defensive, paranoid, fragile, and that's exactly what they want. This is induced ego trauma, by humiliating you publicly, by exposing your weaknesses, by turning others against you. They push your ego to the edge, so you become obsessed with protecting it. But what's left isn't strength. It's a cracked mirror that cuts everything you touch.
Trigger number 11.
Ego death by over-identification. And since they don't kill your ego with force, they flood it with titles, with duties, with labels, until you believe you are the job, you are the role, you are the label. I'm a doctor, I'm a mother, I'm a warrior. But what happens when the title is stripped? What's left? This is over-identification collapse, a silent ego death, where the self was replaced by a mask worn too long.
Trigger number 12, the gratitude control loop.
You should be grateful. They gave you a chance. At least they didn't hurt you worse. This is not gratitude. It's emotional debt. When someone gives you crumbs of kindness and expects full loyalty. This is the gratitude control loop, a weaponized version of thankfulness. They make you believe that anything better than abuse is a blessing, that pain is normal, that mistreatment is deserved, and that you should stay because they did so much for you. But here's the truth. Real care never demands obedience.
Trigger number 13.
The false awakening trap. You read a book, watch a video, have a spiritual moment, and suddenly you feel awakened. But what if that was just another ego program? This is false awakening conditioning, where your ego becomes proud of how enlightened it is. You look down on others, you preach truth, but you've just built a better mask. You didn't kill the ego, you fed it a new costume, and now it hides in plain sight.
Trigger number 14.
Public ego execution. Humiliation. In front of a group, a subtle jab in a meeting, a betrayal from a friend, a viral post that mocks you. This is not random. This is ego assassination, a strategic destruction of your self-image in public view. The pain you feel isn't just embarrassment, it's ego collapse. You try to hide, overcorrect. You become smaller, controlled, because now you fear being seen, not as you are, but as they painted you.
Trigger number 15.
The final hack. The ego loop reset. The final manipulation is when you reach the end and start again. They let your ego collapse. So you run back to them for identity, for purpose, for a new role. And they give it to you, one that still obeys, just with new vocabulary, new beliefs, new programming. This is the ego loop reset. You think you're free, but you've just been reinstalled.
Final whisper.
You were never the voice. You were never the thoughts. You were the space between them. The ego is a program, a mask made of memory and fear. They used it to control you. But now you've seen the code. Welcome to Dark Signal Codex. Whisper it forward before they erase it.